Welcome aboard Imagination Skyway, your grand podcast tour of the magic. I'm your host, Matthew Krull, and in today's episode, we're going to discuss the EPCOT International Flower and Garden Festival, and what I hope will be the first of 4 festival-focused episodes. The EPCOT Flower and Garden Festival takes place each spring, generally starting at the end of the winter season and concluding at the end of spring or beginning of summer. Complete with outdoor kitchens, concerts, merchandise, beautiful gardens and stunning topiaries, even scavenger hunts, the Flower and Garden Festival is one you will not want to miss, and one of my favorite times of year to visit Walt Disney World. In this episode, we'll discuss what you can expect at this year's festival and some suggestions to make the most of the experience. At the end of the show, we'll return to Imagination Central, where I'll share ways in which you can stay connected with Imagination Skyway, how you can discuss this topic with others, and how you can help support and inspire the future of this show. Please remain seated, keep your hands and arms inside the podcast at all times, and enjoy your Grand Circle tour aboard Imagination Skyway. With 4 annual festivals taking place at EPCOT, it's safe to say you can visit this park on multiple vacations in a single year and get a different experience every time. We are currently at the beginning of the spring season, a time when Walt Disney World blossoms, pun intended, with the EPCOT International Flower and Garden Festival. This is personally my favorite festival of the 4, and the one I thought would be best to kick off this new kind of festival-focused episode. But I didn't want to have this conversation alone, and so I would like to welcome a very special guest, someone I've been quite excited to have on the show for a long time. Many of you might know her for her many years running a delicious culinary-focused blog, website, guidebooks, YouTube account, and social media pages. She is AJ from Disney Food Blog. AJ, welcome to the show.
Hi, Matt. Thank you so much for having me. You say you want to be on the show. You never asked me to be on the show.
You've been on my list for a while. I take my time getting to episodes, but you're right. I never formally asked you until about a week ago, and then you said, yes, let's do it. So had I asked you a while ago, I'm sure you would have said the same thing. But
I'm super excited. This is a huge honor. Thank you very much.
And likewise, I am very excited to geek out with you about food. You're the perfect person to geek out about with food. I've done it before, actually, with Lou Mangello. I know you've been on his show too. He's another fellow foodie. But because you are a new guest, I of course have to start with some rapid fire questions, and I'm just going to ask 3 today and see what your answers are. I said my favorite EPCOT festival. So my first question is, what is your favorite of the 4?
Whichever one I'm at right then.
That's a very diplomatic answer.
Thank you. It's really hard though, because I vacillate between what festivals that I would actually love to go to myself if I'm not working, and what festivals are really hard to cover when I am working. So, I love Festival of the Arts because it's, I think the food is so beautiful, and it's also very easy to cover because it's usually a smaller festival. I like Festival of the Holidays because it has that wonderful fondue, and again, it's usually a smaller festival. Also, it's cooler out, which means it's not quite as horrific to cover eating every single thing on the same day. But food and wine should be my favorite, but it happens in the middle of the summer, and it's so much food that it just ends up being like a exhausting to cover. But I would say that would probably be, if I was just going to a festival, probably food and wine, because there's just so much on offer, and it's, I'm hoping that they bring back the Deminars this year, so there's so much more to do.
Yeah, well, that means we'll have to bring you back when we have to cover Food and Wine Festival.
Yes. Yes.
But obviously that's a huge fan favorite. All right, so that was a little focused on festivals, but I'm going to take a step back and ask your favorite Disney attraction.
This one I go back and okay. All right. Favorite Disney attraction. I would probably say is going to have to be Journey to the Center of the Earth and Disney Sea because I don't have any idea what's going on that ride. Like I have read the Wikipedia, here's what is supposed to be going on that ride. And I'm like, still every single time I ride, I'm like, what is happening here? This is insanity. But when it comes, when it comes to Disney World, you will always find me on People Mover, Living with the Land, Spaceship Earth, like all the super chill rides. Those are my jam.
That's exactly the same with me. I haven't been to Tokyo Disney yet, but I've heard amazing things about both the park and Journey to the Center of the Earth as a specific attraction. So
this is the mess. I'm like, well, what's going on?
Yeah. Last question for you. This is maybe the hardest one for you. I will see. Which Disney park do you like the most for its food?
For its food, let's see. Probably, can I count Disney Springs? Because I think Disney Springs has superseded EPCOT as the best park for food in terms of, they've got it wasn't when it was Downtown Disney, but now I think it really is. But otherwise, if I had to choose an individual food item, then I'd probably pick Animal Kingdom. But if I had to say, if I could only eat in one Disney park for the rest of my life, I would probably, or maybe Disneyland, honestly. I might just go Disneyland.
Disneyland has got some incredible food.
It does. It does. They do a much better job with food than Disney World does, but that's because they've got a bunch of locals that are there every weekend and they got to keep them, interested. And so I think that makes a big difference.
Yeah, it does. Well, I love the answers. It definitely helps, I think, the listeners get a better idea of your Disney fandom as well. So let's talk a little bit about the Flower and Garden Festival. And I know you brought up the Food and Wine Festival, and I think when Disney fans think of EPCOT festivals, they generally think of Food and Wine first. It's the most popular. It's what often comes to mind. But many fans might not realize that the Flower and Garden Festival was actually the first EPCOT festival. It debuted in 1994, so that's how far back this goes. And then Food and Wine was 1995. Holidays Around the World was 1996, which eventually 20 years later became Festival of the Holidays. And then Festival of the Arts is our newest one in 2017. Of the four, when you think about what makes each one unique, I know obviously the surface level Flower and Garden is unique because of the topiaries and the gardens that's in the name. But is there anything else that you find to be unique about this festival relative to the other four? Or the other three?
I have very strong allergies when I go here because of the flowers.
Yeah.
Which I don't really get allergies any other time unless I'm at this festival.
There's a lot.
So, and I think it's funny that you're like, what's your favorite festival, EJ? I'm like, let me not mention the one we're talking about today.
I thought about it when you were literally mentioned all the other three.
I did. This one has never been my favorite. And I don't really, I think because I started going before there was food incorporated into it.
Yeah.
And, none of the others, all of the, except for maybe holidays, everything else had food booths when it debuted. But this one was always just kind of like a throwaway, and they had a big HGTV tie-in for a long time. And it was just like not something I was super interested in. So I think it hasn't quite gotten its due in my brain yet. Anyway, what stands out here?
The topiaries, the flowers in the topiaries are definitely the obvious. Yeah. Flowers and gardens.
It's great that they have the Garden Rocks concerts, but again, they're probably not as awesome as the Broadway shows or the folks they bring in town for food and wine or for food and wine. And you don't have like the celebrity, anticipation of, candlelight processional. So I'm trying to think like, okay, what is it about this festival that would make me want to go to this festival? So what makes you love it so much?
Well, I think one, it definitely makes the park, if you take the allergy component out of it, gorgeous. So that's one of the things.
It's beautiful. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a beautiful festival.
Convince me to love it, Matt.
Well, you mentioned Living with the Land. I love Living with the Land. And I think that this festival has the closest ties to Living with the Land. And a lot of the original spirit of Epcot, which is to learn in addition to
Yeah.
be
Okay.
entertained. And while you do, I think the Festival of the Holidays, you learn more of the World Showcase aspect. Like
Right.
let's learn how different countries around the world culturally celebrate the holidays. Food and wine is obviously more hands-on with learning about culinary arts and everything else. Festival of the Arts is the artistic side, tied very much to like the Imagination Pavilion. But Flower and Garden is like if you took the Land Pavilion and expanded it across the entire
Mhm.
park, you're learning
That's
about
true.
environmentalism. You're learning about like literally tending to your own home garden. You're learning about the um like I don't want to say locally sourced, but you're learning a lot about uh how to maybe grow your own food, or
Yeah,
it's
like food
they have
sourcing in general.
Honey
And farm
Bistro.
farm to farm to table is a really, that's a very trendy topic right now, and I know that they really try to focus in on that when they are sourcing food too. And I haven't seen it quite as much with this festival or recent festivals, but for a long time they had a lot of very specific brand tie-ins, with I guess they're kind of doing it now. Do they still have like certain like berry, berry brand tie-ins and things like that? But I would love to see a little bit more of the local sourcing tie-in as well with this festival. I think that could be very, very cool.
Yeah, I know they have the one booth, the Florida the with the oh my goodness, I literally had it in front of me, and
The
now
Farmer's Feast, is that it?
I think that's it.
That's the one that changes its menu every couple of months, yeah, or every few weeks.
Yeah, and then they do have a I think they have a Florida. There is a Florida Fresh. That's right, a Florida Fresh booth. So
Florida
that's the other one.
Fresh.
That's the other one I was thinking of.
Yeah.
So, but then
Yeah. But I don't
I
see as many brand tie-ins as they used to. It used to be there were craisins on everything, like there were craisins in your drink and craisins on your salad and craisins with your chicken. And like now I don't see that many tie-ins.
yeah, um, yeah. So I like that tie into sort of the spirit of the Land Pavilion, and maybe that's why I enjoy this festival as much as I do.
Are you a
Uh,
big gardener?
I'm not a big gardener actually, so
Well, maybe that's why. Maybe you need your escape.
maybe I
You
do. I've
need a
got
you need a bigger garden, a bigger plot. You got to get out of Long Island, move to, I don't
moved to
know,
Florida.
Kansas. Move to Florida and start growing your veg.
Yeah, exactly. I still have some land here on Long Island. I'm not quite in the five boroughs, so
You're
I have
not
a
in the
yard. I can have
penthouse
a
apartment.
yeah. I can have a garden around here somewhere. Um, but anyway, so that I'm going to skip my second question, which was what do you look forward to the most about the Flower and Garden Festival? And now I know that it's your least favorite of the four, so not too much. Uh, but
It's
perhaps
not, but it's not. I do not speak for the entire DFB team. We have a lot of folks on the DFB team. This is their favorite festival. So I'm gonna pose the same questions to them and be like, why? Why do you love this?
Um, well, let's focus on this year's festival. I guess we know this year's festival is running from February 28th to May 27th. It's 59 days for those who are counting. This is a very dynamic season for Walt Disney World when you think about the pockets of time that are in this time period.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to advise to somebody the best time to go to Flower and Garden Festival, I generally advise for anything, don't go the first day, just
Mm-hmm.
because there are a lot of kinks to work out. We're already past the first day, but it's where all the influencers and creators go, and they get in line for everything, and just document everything. So even I personally generally avoid the opening day of most events. But other than that, are there any periods in here that you would say would be the best time to go and see the Flower and Garden Festival, or weeks that you would avoid?
Yeah. So generally for festivals, you always want to go on a weekday and you always want to go right when it opens. So right at like 11 a.m. That's going to give you the shortest lines, the fewest crowds. So weekends are always going to be problematic because locals are going to come out on the weekends. And then during, or earlier in the day, that's to me, that's the best time because then you're going to be the first one in line. If you have a good strategy in place and you know where you want to go and when, you can probably get through it pretty quickly in terms of if you're just going to the booths. In terms of what time of the year to go, I'm always going to err on the side of earlier rather than later. I agree with you. Don't go the first day or even the first weekend. But you do have kind of spring break coming up, and the parks are just going to get more crowded and hotter throughout the rest of the festival. So the earlier you can go, stick to the weekdays, stick to early in the day, and you should be good to go. Like that's, and I don't really have that kind of advice for other festivals because, food and wine is going to be hot the whole time, basically, unless you go literally the last week. And then Festival of the Holidays and farts are just going to be cool because it's winter. But Flower and Garden, there's definitely a good time and a bad time to go.
Yeah, I definitely would, in general, try to avoid that peak spring break week around the week of Easter. Generally, very, very crowded. But not to say that you can't have a good time going then and still get to see and do a lot, but your list of must-dos is probably going to be tempered a bit with those peak times. But I agree, the earlier side here is probably ideal. But then I would also say, like, if we're recording this in March, so we're already at the tail end of that. Even looking at the beginning of May, while it's not going to be as cool as it would be the end of February, beginning of March, it's past spring break. It's before the summer crowds start, so that's a really good pocket that I have personally gone to the most for Flower and Garden Festival and found it to
Okay.
be a really like a little sweet spot. It's not too hot. It's
Mhm.
not too crowded. And it's right before that summer rush. So a
Yeah,
good a
yeah.
good time of year to
Early,
go.
early May, and depending on where Easter falls,
Yes.
late April, early May can be a sweet spot. It's now I'm getting old, so it's still too hot for me then because I'm an old
It's
lady now.
hard.
So, back in the day, I could, I was like, yeah, early May, and now I'm like, oh, it's 85.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah. It gets hot. It gets, like you said, the food and wine festival is certainly, if you go at the beginning of that in particular, it's just very, very hot. So yeah, it's
Ugh,
it's it's a difficult time of year for many to travel there. Uh
it's hard, but that's a lot of people have to go that time of year because that's when the kids are out of school. But like, you're just, you basically walk outside. I have to carry a sweat rag with me all the time. Like I literally bring a washcloth from the bathroom in my hotel, and I just have like wiping sweat off my face the whole time. Oh, Florida, I
it's
love
Central
you.
Florida summer. Uh
Yes,
so
women through it.
Um, so that I think that gives people an idea of where, about the best time to maybe think about going. But the I'll tell you, if anyone is really interested in the festival, definitely look into, if you can. I mean, these are also very popular places to book, but the Epcot Resort hotels, or at least something on the Skyliner, so Pop Century, Art of Animation, Caribbean Beach, Riviera. Do you have a favorite resort from either the Crescent Lake area or the Skyliner route?
Um, so I always tell people that I have a particular room that I always like to book before a festival, and I think it's 1501 in the Beach Club because it's literally the closest room to Epcot.
That's a
So I
famous
don't
room. Yeah,
because I don't have to, and like especially when I had when my kid was a baby and I made the really horrible decision to bring him because Food and Wine started when he was 8 weeks old, and I did not quite understand because I'm a perfectionist, and I was like, well, no, I have to cover Food and Wine, and so he's like 8 weeks old, and I had to keep going back and forth to like feed him and stuff, and so that has sort of become a just a little meme for me is that particular room. But I love the Swan and Dolphin. They usually those rooms are going to be less expensive, and not anymore though. I saw a second ago they were like $1,000 a night for, I think they had a big convention in town or something. But they're usually gonna be less expensive. They are going to be walkable to Hollywood Studios and Epcot. They're lovely. I love the food there. They have really, really good restaurants. So that is another one that I always recommend. But in between, and Boardwalk's got brand new rooms now. Beach Club has brand new rooms now. So there's you can't really go wrong in that Crescent Lake area. And then when it comes to, the fact that we have the Skyliner now, so Art of Animation and Pop Century are not anywhere close to as isolated as they used to be. It's like staying in a different hotel than what it used to be. So it's just a huge, huge difference to stay at those two hotels. I'm not a huge fan of Riviera or Caribbean Beach, honestly. Riviera is too expensive. The Caribbean Beach is too spread out. And, my experiences there have not been great. So I would probably choose, for value resorts, Art of Animation, Pop Century, and then the Crescent Lake hotels.
Yeah, you listed obviously some really great resort options. My personal favorites, if I'm on the Disney Vacation Club side, Boardwalk. I know people love Beach Club. I after staying there again, I'd stay there years ago and then stay there again with the refurbished rooms. I really love Boardwalk. It's a fantastic resort. And then non Disney Vacation Club is actually Yacht Club, has always been, because it's the one you didn't mention, and I find that a lot of people just jump over Yacht Club between Beach Club,
They
the Swan
do.
and Dolphin,
They
and
do. But
yeah,
yet Yacht Club is usually going to have the lower prices. Like
hmm
I think fewer people stay there. The demand isn't as high. So it's going to have the lower prices. I just think the rooms are kind of bare. The rooms don't feel very Disney to me, although I do love those curtains. But they just kind of feel bare to me, I
that's
guess.
fair.
And so that's why it's not my go-to, but I stay there quite a bit anyway because the prices are a little bit lower.
Yeah. Um, well, obviously, so many different choices in it. Even if you are staying somewhere else, it's going to be easy
We
for
are
you to
very
hop
different
over to
people,
Epcot.
Matt. You and I are very different people. I feel like
Yes, we are,
we
which means we
we're yin and
counterbalance.
yang. We're two sides of the coin, which is great.
Exactly. See, we need this type of dynamic
That's right.
for an episode like this. So we there's a lot I want to get to. You've been to many festivals, more than I have, and certainly more festival days than I have. I've been to all four. I've done them, several times, but I feel like you're really, between the two of us, the expert when it comes to attending the festival. So this is a tricky question, but what would you say is the ideal amount of time for someone who's not local? Because obviously a local is going to have, you can go back, you can see and experience different things every single time. Someone going on vacation is probably not going to see and do it all. But in terms of like number of days, if you had a week at Walt Disney World and you want to see the festival, how many days would you devote to Epcot? And then what portion of the day would you allocate to the specific festival food, beverage, activities, anything else that's going on?
Yeah, and this is obviously going to depend on the festival because if they bring the Demonars back to Food and Wine, then you can very easily do 2 to 3 days at Food and Wine. Because of all of those events, you definitely want to catch some of those Eat to the Beat concerts. So there's gonna be a lot more to just consume, both physically and I guess senses wise, when you have Food and Wine. So Food and Wine I would probably um allocate, assuming you don't have like a 2-year-old who just needs to be at Magic Kingdom the whole time. You know what I mean? Like assuming you're going and you want the festival to be a part of what you're doing. Definitely 2 to 3 days for that festival. Festival of the Arts you can probably do in a day. I don't think you necessarily need to allocate 2 full days. Flower and Garden, maybe a day, day and a half. And then Festival of the Holidays you can probably do in a day. Again, smaller festival, fewer food booths. But if you're, um, if you're an Epcot stan like me and you're like, well, I'm probably going to spend 2 days in Epcot anyway, then add on an extra day so that you can have two opportunities to eat around the festival because my eyes are always bigger than my stomach when it comes to what I can actually consume. And so, I mean, comfortably. And so if I give myself two full meals to eat around, then I'll probably hit most of what I actually want to try.
Yeah. My wife and I have a rule with the festivals is when we visit Epcot, we make no dining reservations and all we eat is just sampling around. And then we'll get two different items. We'll split it, or three items and split it and just get the sample as much as possible. So
Yep,
that's good advice.
exactly. And that's great is to bring a group too. Like if you've got a group
Yes.
and you can all share, that's awesome.
Yeah. It definitely helps. Um, we're going to get to the food, and that's how I think we're going to definitely talk and dive in quite a bit. I want to start with your favorite element, which are the gardens and topiaries, as we've already
Yes,
decided. So
definitely something I look forward to.
there are. I'll cover this. I'll cover this real quick. So there are over 60. When I went to the website, there's over 60 character topiaries this year, and it's a long list. So I think about the Fab 50 statues that were
Right.
all over for Walt Disney World, for Walt Disney World's 50th anniversary. This is even more than that in just one space. And obviously, the team that puts these together is incredibly talented in what they deliver. I have to say, I was really impressed. We're recording this the day after they announced the first ever projection mapped topiary with Dante, which makes it worth going, especially at night to see it. It looks
Yeah.
amazing and
Hmm.
makes me look forward to what Imagineering is going to be doing next. Have you ever done? I've done a few of these. I think I did more for the Food and Wine Festival. Have you ever done the scavenger hunts?
Yes. Yeah. And our team does them every year because we love to get the prize.
Yeah.
So
You're basically paying for the prize and you get a game out of it, which
you're
is,
paying for the prize. And that's something that we always tell people is you don't actually have to do the scavenger hunt if you don't want to do the scavenger hunt. Like as soon as you get there and buy your little board, you can ask them for the prize. That's okay. You don't,
yeah,
because like some people are like, oh, I have to finish this whole scavenger hunt. And it's like, no, you don't. You just are paying for the prize. Just get the prize. The prize this year is great though, right?
yeah, yeah.
I was super jazzed to see cornhole. Why have we not had cornhole before?
They get more creative, but I mean they're super affordable. They're just $9.99 each. So you're talking about like $10 to do one of these scavenger hunts. They have the Spikes Pollination Exploration and the Egg Extravaganza Hunt. I think it's definitely something, especially as my daughter gets older. I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to doing with her. It just makes for because we are frequent Walt Disney World visitors, so something different, like a game that we can play while we're there. It never
And
hurts
when
to
the
have some fun
lines are
family time.
long, when it's too crowded, there's too many people, those are great things to just like, and when as your kids get older too, like one of them gets to be in charge of it, right? Like they're the scavenger hunt captain for the day. And, that's just, that's awesome. That's so much fun. Cause that's something else I love about Disney World is that it gives you the opportunity to give your kids kind of safe responsibilities.
Yeah,
Um, and try out kind of they can try out sort of new positions that they may be a little bit more scared to try in the real world, but when you're in the Disney bubble, you're kind of safe to, I know it was the first time that my brother and I were allowed to kind of wander by ourselves, in Epcot when we were kids, and that felt huge to us. But my parents were fully aware that we were very safe and it wasn't going to be a problem. We weren't like
yeah,
5. I mean, I think
right.
we were
Yeah,
probably like I don't know 12 or something, but
yeah,
that
a
was
responsible age.
big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool. That's a lot of fun. All right, well, you've got Disney Food Blog. We should probably talk about food. There are 25 when I again looked at the foodie guide, the Disney Eats foodie guide. There are 25 locations listed that don't include Joffrey's and coffee, and some of these are not all outdoor kitchens. There are a few permanent locations like the Refreshment Outpost and Connections Eatery that incorporate some flower and garden uh, flair and culinary options into them. So, but either way, there's a lot of places that you can go throughout this festival. And then, as I said, there are separate Joffrey's Coffee and Tea locations, and they have four specialty beverages, one at each of those four. Um, the thing I really have come to like about the festivals and what makes them unique is not just the theme, but also the food. They keep getting more creative. And I think it was probably Festival of the Arts that tipped the scale that direction, because all of a sudden they have a festival that is not just about the food, but also about the arts. So you have these really interesting, creative food items, and they're like deconstructed items, and like, you can paint your own cookie, and just really creative ways to think about the food. And then I felt that that branched out to the other festivals beyond that, and I see that they're getting more and more creative with
Yeah.
Flower and Garden Festival. Did anything sort of stand out to you this year, especially with some of they had like over 60 new items? It seems like a lot of beverages, more than food, but
It's always mostly beverages. Yeah.
yeah.
It's like something that we do on our DFB Slack channels is we're like, okay, they got 60 new items. All right, what percentage of them are beverages? Because we're of course interested in the beverages, but we're always a little more interested in what new foods are going to be introduced. But yeah, there's a lot of new stuff this year, and something that really took us by surprise this year was how much of the items are plant-based this year.
Yeah.
There are a lot of vegan and vegetarian options at this year's festival, way more than we have seen before. And something that's interesting to me about the creativity and how you're starting to see, you're starting to see a lot of these food items that are much more visually focused. And I've always attributed that to, it is Instagram's world, and we're just living in it, right? Like, I was interviewed by the Orlando Sentinel years and years ago about, well, why this whole concept, and I mentioned, Disney is aware that if they want to drive traffic to a certain part of the park, they will put an Instagrammable food item there so that people kind of have to go there to get that item, and they're going to see it, and they're going to want to put it on their feeds. And so, they can absolutely direct traffic to different areas of the parks based on that. And I think that that is a huge reason why you're seeing a lot more creativity in the food that's produced here, is because it is just being vlogged and photographed so much more than it was. When I first started in this business, I used to carry my giant DSLR around, and I took pictures of food, and nobody took pictures of food. This was not a thing people did. Instagram didn't exist. Twitter barely existed. And I got a lot of weird looks, and, people freaking out that I was taking pictures of the food. And now it is just, that's what you're going to do. And everybody is going to do it. So I have definitely seen a change in the festivals over the last 10, 15 years, where, they know that stuff's going to be splashed all over social media, and they're using that to their advantage in a really interesting way. So I love that. I think that's great, because you eat with your eyes, and so it's really lovely to see. Now in the Flower and Garden Festival, they have a lot of opportunities here with edible flowers. They have a lot of opportunities with to do cute takes on stuff. Like they have the terrarium, which they had a couple of years ago, and then I think it was gone for a little while, and they brought that back this year, which is a really fun take on just a worms and dirt. You know what I mean? Like, it's a really
Right.
interesting take on it. And, you get to teach your kid what a terrarium is. I love that, so that the avocado toast is always beautiful because they have all those flowers on it, and we always know we have to get a really, really good video of the avocado toast, because it's going to go into multiple, short form videos that we're going to do.
Yeah.
So those are always going to be lovely. But, I am a huge fan of the Honey Bistro booth, because everything's very pretty but also delicious. And then the Fleur de Lis booth has just, I mean, they've got that gorgeous drink that they keep bringing back year after year because it's so popular. That's the other thing is like you do end up, sorry, I always talk too much on these podcasts,
No,
but
this is all your category, so I'm leaning on you here.
you do end up, a few years ago, that Violet Lemonade really went bonkers on social media, and Disney actually introduced an entire merchandise line that was the Violet Lemonade line, which they no longer produce. But that's something else that I think these booths are starting to lean into is what can we produce that is going to bring eyeballs to our booth, not just people who want to eat the food, but people who want to see it and people who want to put it up online. So I think you're starting to see a lot more of that be, and I'm hoping that you know there isn't a situation where looks are going to trump taste in terms of a lot of this stuff. There are some snacks that Disney has made very beautiful, but they don't taste good. And they're often pretty expensive. And so it's like, well, okay, I get what you're trying to do, but then I feel like I've been cheated, because I don't like the taste of this. But so far I do feel like this festival does a very good job of delivering both on look and flavor.
Yeah, I loved what I saw. I'm going to the festival. Like I said, I do not go the first day or generally the first
Right.
week. So I'm going to be there end of April. That's when I'm going. I also have to tie it into our vacation calendar and everything else. So that's when we're going to go
Right.
this year. So, but that being said, I feel like the list of things I wanted to try this year is longer than it's been. And
Okay, good.
the honey bistro is certainly one that stood out to me. You actually mentioned two, that and the Fleur de Lis are two booths that I was really excited for. And not that the latter had many new ones, but the one that I see that came up in the Honey Bistro that I was really looking forward to is the honey glazed cauliflower. That looks amazing with
Yeah,
the
that's on our best of the fest this year. It's beautiful, and I think, after you've been eating theme park food for a while, it's very nice to have something that's like, oh, my body is actually happy that I'm eating this
it's
and it's
vegetables.
delicious.
Yeah.
Right, right.
What are actually on the top of the list for you or for the DFB team?
So we put out our best of the fest every year, and this year it's very interesting because again, it used to be back in the day, I was the only one covering festivals. I ate every single thing at every single booth, at every festival on day one, and then I would go to Jelly Rolls until 1:45 when they turned up the lights, and I would work in the back of the room and I would edit my photos and I'd write the posts and I'd put everything up. Right now, I've got a team of very smart, very different people who are kind of all experiencing it together, which makes me feel like our best of the fest, which I don't want to discount my opinions, but I also think having more people contributing to, well, what do you think of this?
Absolutely.
Makes the best of the fest even more broadly useful. So, we've got a couple of those plant-based items in our best of the fest this year. We've got the Impossible Jamaican beef patty at La Isla Fresca. That is high up on the list. The ramen cup at Hanami, which I probably wouldn't have chosen as a best of the fest because I'm not a big fan of cold noodles. Um, but they're like, my team is like, no, you're wrong, AJ. This is great. And I love that. So, I mean, a couple of other things, the honey glazed cauliflowers on there. There's the liquid nitro honey mascarpone cheesecake at Swirled Showcase, which you would think would be at Honey Bistro, but it's not. Because Swirled Showcase is there all the time now. It's just it's like a refreshment port now.
Yeah.
Um, we got the terrarium on there, the toasted pretzel bread at Bowen Market. That's there every year, and every once in a while we'll have a best of the fest item that just, yep, still best of the fest. Like it's there every year for a reason. And so we've got a whole bunch of stuff on our list. I'm looking at it right now as I'm chatting with you. Um, but yeah, those cinnamon roll bites from Brunch Cot, those have been on the list for, I believe, 3 years, 3 or 4 years now. Can't remember when they weren't always at Brunch Cot. Oh, I just found a typo. I'm gonna have to go fix this. We called it Brunchot instead of Brunch Cot, so I'm gonna have to go fix that on my blog post. But um, it wasn't always at Brunch Cot, and that's the other thing is a lot of times they'll move these items around. So something will come in to which is a new item, quote unquote, to the Flower and Garden Festival, but it was actually at Food and Wine 6 years ago,
Right.
and so that's another thing that we're very careful about is if it's new to the festival, that's great. We'll tell you it's new to the festival, but we'll also tell you how it compares to when we ate it before, because a lot of times they will kind of jigsaw puzzle these food items around because they know where to source the ingredients. They know how to make it. They know that it can, serve its purpose at a festival. So why not rely on ones that have worked before, so I totally get why they do that. But I also want folks to know, if you've been to this festival 3 years ago, this isn't new to you, but it was still, good enough to come back.
Yeah. There's a couple there that you, like I said, mentioned that are definitely on my list of things to try. The Bowen Market is definitely like everything there I would want to try. Same thing with Brunch Cot, like the avocado toast,
Yeah.
the fried cinnamon roll. I did hear good things about the biscuit and gravy as well. So
Yep.
there's just so much
Yep.
to
It looks
try.
it looks amazing too. Like just looking at it, you're like, I just want to eat that right now. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I do have to. So there's actually one other interesting item, and then another mention of food, or really drinks. So the interesting item is that at Connections Eatery, they're
Uh-huh.
serving the hot honey chicken sandwich, which reminded me when I read the list of the hot chicken sandwich. I think it's the exact same thing over at the Hungry Bear in Disneyland or something very similar, which is delicious. So I'm hoping it's as good as Hungry Bear because it was a very good sandwich. So
And it's funny to me. Something else that I love paying attention to is where Disney is hopping on trends, and where they're kind of jumping, like when they jumped on the cronut bandwagon, years and years ago, and that was such a big deal, and everyone had a cronut. And
yeah,
the hot honey chicken is another one that's like, yes, it's been a trend for a couple of years now, but they tend to jump on those trends a little bit later so that they can make sure it's actually, going to be worth it. But yeah, I think that's really fun because I love a hot honey chicken. So I love that they're kind of messing around in that space now.
yeah. So it's probably going to be at least for lunch one day, or it's not really a snack. It's going to be some type of meal. I feel like on one of my days that I'm there, I'm going to have to
Yep.
check that out. And then I do have to give a shout out to Joffrey's because my listeners know I love Joffrey's. And they had, like I said, 4 different items this year, and I am really intrigued by, in a very good way. Like I'm really looking forward to this citrus frosted iced tea, which is frozen lemonade, Minute Maid lemonade, iced tea, and orange tangerine syrup with a glazed orange peel. It just feels like refreshing citrus iced tea.
Refreshing. Yeah. Like
Yeah,
really a really good springtime drink. I love that.
exactly.
They do a good job with those drinks that they do every year, and they get some kind of short shrift, because there's so much other stuff debuting.
Hmm.
But I've got some reporters in the parks that have found a good Joffrey's Festival drink that they'll go get every time they're there.
Yeah, so much to enjoy. And while we could do an entire episode on food alone, oh, the last thing I did want to mention about food is the garden craze, just because it's something else that you can do.
Yeah.
So you can collect 5
Another
stamps,
prize.
you get another prize. Exactly. I actually don't think I usually don't end up getting everything that they want in those passport books. So I get it, and then I never end up finishing it because again, I'm usually there for just like a trip or something, and then we'll get
Right.
sidetracked and go do something else. So I feel like if you're a local, this is an amazing thing to do. If you are just vacationing, it almost in a way will take away from your vacation because you feel like you have to go to this booth to get this particular thing, and this booth
right.
to go to very specific places to get all those stamps filled up. But very cool if you go
No, and
frequently.
that's another tip that I like to give people is like for someone like me who's in a like a perfectionist and um I follow rules really well. Like I always feel like I'm supposed to do that whole thing in one day, and you don't have to do the whole thing in one day. You can do it over 3 months if you want. You know, if you keep coming back to the festival, or if you have 2 trips planned during the festival, like you can still get the prize if you don't do it all in one day. Like that, they don't know,
That's
and
true.
they don't care. It's not like that's a rule or something. Like they don't care. You're not like cheating.
That's right. And you just remind me, I do have 2 trips planned during the festival this year. So I actually maybe
There you
can fill that
go.
passport up for once. I'll maybe finish it. We'll see if I end up
There we
doing that.
go. And I think if you have something that you really like, it's okay if you get the same thing a couple of times. Like
Oh,
you can
yeah.
just,
Just fill it up.
just fill it
Um,
up.
so that I'm going to say that covers food. It really doesn't, but that is a good overview of some of the food. And we didn't talk too much about the drinks, but there's obviously a lot to savor with that as well.
So many drinks this year. So many good cocktails, mocktails. Yeah, lots of good stuff to dig into this year.
Any top choices on your end for the beverage to enjoy, either mocktails or cocktails?
I have to go look at my little list again. I have to go look at my little the one that's kind of something that's kind of sticking out to me is there is a particular beer flight. Nope, I'm not finding it.
Is it at
So
the
I'm gonna
Northern
say,
Bloom? Oh no, they have beer flights all over the place.
this is embarrassing. I am actually thinking of the Disney California Adventure Food and Wine Festival.
They have
There's a
everything gets blended
beer
together.
flight
There's a lot of
there
festivals.
because they're literally the day after each other. So
Yep.
the food, the Flower and Garden started on the 28th, and DCA Food and Wine soft opened on the 29th. So it was just like festival day, and so everything just does blend
It
together. But I
really
think,
blends together.
in terms of drinks, you're always going to want to head over to Mexico and see what they're doing, because they will usually bring out new, different drink options, and they are so good at mixology over in that space. And it's the mixology team for the Mexico Pavilion is the same mixology team that does the drink menus for Frontera Cocina, and they also do everything over at Coronado Springs. So if you like the margaritas at La Cava, you're gonna like what they're gonna put together at their booth as well. And then of course I'm always a big fan of the drinks over in France. Like I said, that that beautiful, I don't even know what it's called. It's the pink, like cosmopolitan kind of situation that they've got. Let me see, where is that? Fleur de Lis, figure out the name of it. Olivia and Rose. They have that
Yeah.
every year. It's the Grey Goose, L'Orange, Saint Germain, white and red cranberry juice. Really, really good. So they usually will have a good thing that is a returning item at France. And then it's always fun to see what China's got going on. They'll usually bring in a couple of really interesting drinks. If you're into sake, usually you can find some cool sake cocktails over in Japan. So, I mean, and of course, I mean, you're going to go to, if you're a beer fan, you got to go to Germany, whatever they've got going on at Germany. So just lots of good stuff to try.
Yeah. There's not a shortage of things to try at any of these festivals, and it really makes Epcot a park you can keep going back and back to. Again, especially if you are local, you can go back and try something new every time.
Yep.
So they have the last thing we should probably touch on before some final thoughts about the festival or final advice is we mentioned at the beginning of the Garden Rocks concert series. So this is, again, like every festival now has some version of this, and this is at the American Gardens Theater. They have 3 showings each evening at 5:30, 6:45, and 8 o'clock. You can also get the dining packages. They have a few available where you get guaranteed seating at one of these performances. And the restaurants for this festival are at Akershus, Beer Garden, Coral Reef Garden Grill, Le Cellier, Regal Eagle Smokehouse, Rose and Crown, and Spice Road Table. So any advice or strategies for someone, obviously check the schedule, see who's performing on your trip. If there's someone that you do want to see, then what would your advice be to someone who's like, I have to go see, you know, this band for
Yeah.
because they're there on, or I plan my trip just to go see this band. So in terms of like dining packages, probably a recommendation, but which particular place you would pick or any other strategies you have around the concert series.
Yeah, definitely. If you have to see, if you have to go to one of these concerts, I would do a dining package. It's a little bit less difficult to get a seat because you can just go, just go watch them, as you know. And it's a little bit less difficult to get a seat at these concerts than it would be for some of the Epcot Food and Wine concerts or the Candlelight Processional. But every once in a while you're gonna have a very popular band come in. I know Lit is new this year. So you're gonna have a few here that are going to be, that are gonna be hard to get into. So book that dining package. And again, it's going to depend on which restaurant you like or you want to eat at. Like, hopefully, a restaurant you would have wanted to eat at anyway is going to have a dining package. And if not, they've got Regal Eagle. Now, Regal Eagle, you cannot book ahead of time. Those are day of, and you just have to show up, and it's kind of first come, first served. So, that's a good recommendation if you aren't going to like freak out if you don't get one, but it's going to cost you a lot less than the other packages are going to cost you. So that's another route to try if you're like, well, I really want to see plain white teas, but I'm going to be okay if I don't. Then try for Regal Eagle to see if you can get. Another thing to look at too is the weather. Because you can listen to, that's an amphitheater. You can listen to the show and kind of stand in the back and see it. But if it's going to be horrible weather, very, very rainy, you definitely do want to get a seat in the amphitheater and get there early, like line up early in that little line with the dining package folks so that you can get a seat that's under cover, because I have sat through many candlelight processionals in the rain and it's not comfortable. So definitely get there, look at the weather, know what you've got ahead of you.
Yeah, that's obviously a really important point as well. So weather is crucial. I have to say for this year's festival, I don't know if they performed before, but it was cool to see a flock of seagulls on here, because I'm wondering if there's going to be some at least PR tie-in to having them ride Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. And
That'd be so great. Wouldn't that be so fun?
yeah, they get to hear Iran when they're riding it. Or you as a guest can have that experience. Go and hopefully you get
Yeah.
I Ran So Far Away as your Cosmic Rewind selection, and then you get to hop on over and hear them perform it live. So
Oh, wow, that's super fun. I didn't even think about that. That's awesome.
they have to do more of that. That'd be a lot of fun. They'll bring Gloria Estefan, over as well. They'll do all the choices, as many as they can get for those Guardians
Right.
hits. Uh,
That's fun.
so we've covered a lot of the subject, and this episode is obviously not going to cover everything that you could do at the festival, which is certainly not the intention of it, but to highlight the reasons to go, the experiences that you can get, and some of the advice you would offer. So thinking as a whole about Flower and Garden Festival, are there any other recommendations you would offer to someone who is visiting to make the most of it, or something they shouldn't miss, or anything else you would have on your list?
I mean, my biggest advice is to plan ahead, unless you're one of those people that's like super cool, just like going in and you don't really care what, oh, this is cool, let's go do this, plan ahead, look and see what is available, what options you have when you go to Epcot that day, and narrow it down to these are the 5 things we really want to do at the festival. And that should be completely doable in a day or half a day. You should be able to kind of do those 5 things. So I think that that's the biggest, I'm very susceptible to FOMO. And so I always want to know everything that's happening. And I want to be able to know that I got my money's worth, what I really wanted to do. And so that's probably my biggest piece of advice is figure out what your must-dos are, and then don't stress or worry about the rest of it. Because it's very easy to go in and just be like, well, I have to do everything. And then your trip is not fun anymore. And again, if there's a lot of stuff, if you can't narrow it down and you're like, well, I got 20 must-dos, then give yourself more days. Just build in more days, more Epcot days. Or if your family or your group, you're the only one who wants to do, a double up on a festival thing, like send everybody else to Animal Kingdom. Like be like, okay, y'all just go and I'm going to do this. Like people are often scared to split up their group because they feel like somehow they're a bad family if they do that. You're not, people want to do different things and people prioritize different things. It's great if you can all stick together and do all the same stuff, but there are definitely going to be times in your family's life as your kids get older, or even if kids are younger and they need different things, that sometimes, all right, y'all are going to go with, parent number 2 or grandma and grandpa or whatever, and we're going to go do this. That's okay. You're not a bad family. That's probably going to make your trip better overall. So just being willing to kind of split everybody up so that everybody has fun.
Yeah, I have experienced this. I think that I have this theory, which I think is true, that the larger the group that sticks together, the fewer happiness in that group, or the less the happiness in that
seriously?
Group. Because
oh my gosh,
not everybody's going to be happy. If you all stick together, then you have most people are making compromises to do something else. So yeah, the whole like divide and conquer, like, look, we're going to regroup for dinner. It's going to be our family time together, but you all want to do this, you all want to do the other thing, like go do the other thing, have fun. We'll meet back up for our family meal together. Or we'll meet back at the resort at the end of the day and recap the awesome stuff that we did. And just don't be afraid to do that. I totally agree.
Yeah, everybody's gonna be happier, and then you're not gonna be like, on each other's nerves all day, because Disney World is a very stressful vacation. You're spending a ton of money, and you really, everybody's nervous that they're not getting their money's worth out of it. So it can be a very stressful vacation. Everybody's tired, they're off their schedules, they're eating food that their bodies don't like and probably aren't agreeing with their body, and it's just like it ends up being a very high maintenance trip. And if you're getting annoyed with everybody around you, even though they're the people you love most in the world, you need a break from each other, and that's totally okay to do.
Yeah. And
probably why my parents made my brother and I go wander around Epcot by ourselves.
This conversation comes full circle.
It sure does.
Yeah. The idea of planning is so important. It's obviously something I recommend for any Disney trip, and your whole commentary around it's impossible to see and do everything, right? So yeah, like not feeling like you have to get to everything at the festival. It's the same thing if you go to Walt Disney World, if you're going for 4 days and visiting the 4 parks, you're unlikely to see and do everything. So you got to scale back the list and focus on the things you want to do the most. What my wife and I do for any of these festivals is we go through the list, we see exactly the food and beverage items we want. And then not only do we write them down in our iPhone notepad, but then organize it, make sure that we know where those food items are. Cause I might just write the honey glazed cauliflower, but then I have to go and, while I'm there, like, oh, where are they serving this? Where is it? So actually knowing not just even the outdoor kitchen, but if you don't know where that outdoor kitchen is, I'm going to get this item. It's over by the France Pavilion, or it's over by the Odyssey building, or pick and choose where it's going to be, but knowing exactly where everything is, so you can always consult the list and say, I'm here right now, rather than jump all the way to the other side of the park, this is an item that I wanted to try that's right over here, so let me go and try this now. So that there's a little bit less running around, a little bit more organization, and you can sort of tie in the festival to your existing EPCOT itinerary if you have other attractions you want to do and other things you want to get to.
Oh, yeah.
So
That's a really, really good point, is I think people feel like they have to separate their day into rides and then eating around the booths. And it's like, no, you don't. You can do this ride and then go have this booth and do this ride and have this booth. And it's like, it can all, maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just my weird brain that does that.
I know so many people do that.
Mix them together.
Yeah. No, that's why, to your point, 11 o'clock is a great time to start the festivals, because everybody else, the majority of people, are doing all the attractions. Let's get to Test Track. Let's get to Soarin'. Let's get to everything we want to tackle. And then once we get through our list, then we go to the festival and we eat and drink all night. Like that's the rest of our evening.
Right. But you could already be done. And then, cause they're all in line at Spaceship Earth because it's the first ride they saw. And, you're like, no, I'm going to wait till 3:30 to go on Spaceship Earth because it's going to be a 5-minute wait, so you just got to be smart about this stuff. And there's definitely tons of information out there about, how to maximize your trip for sure.
Yeah. I'll tell you my modern EPCOT strategy. I start at Future World.
Ready.
But then I actually jumped to World Showcase.
Not called Future World anymore.
You're right. But I still combine them. World Celebration, it's harder to say. World of Celebration, World Discovery, World Nature. I go to those 3 sections first, those 3 neighborhoods. And then hop on over to World Showcase for the middle of the day. Not great in the summer when it's really hot, but you kind of like finish World Showcase by 4 o'clock and then jump back to not Future World, World Celebration, World Discovery, World Nature. The attractions are a lot quieter at the very end of the day. And it's my favorite time to go there. Yes, because
everybody's over there. So smart. And then you can ride Living with the Land 7 times in a row. Which is what we all want to be doing anyway. And maybe take a nap on it.
Yeah. That could be done.
Tired by that point. Yes.
I
love it.
Well, this has been a lot of fun, AJ. So we covered this festival. I think we'll have to do the other 3 festivals at some point. Maybe not all this year, but in the future we'll cover Food and Wine, Festival of the Holidays, and
listen, I'm here. I know you don't like to ask me to be on your podcast, but I'm here and I'm ready to talk to you anytime you want about food or festivals.
I appreciate it. Well, just in case no one's heard of Disney Food Blog, which is probably not very many people, but for those who don't know where to go, where can people go to, or what do you have to plug for Disney Food Blog right now?
I got lots to plug if you want me to. I mean, obviously DisneyFoodBlog.com is the OG. And then we've got DFB Guide is our YouTube channel, which is super fun. And if you did not like me on this podcast, you will not like the YouTube channel because it's all me all the time. And then we've got guidebooks that we publish that are over at dfbstore.com. But we also have something that I wanted to mention. We've got a free, totally free map and list of all the booth food items and everything in a festival map, which is also a good thing too. It's printable. You can use it to kind of make your game plan. Like we're going to, these are where the booths are so that when when I get off of Guardians of the Galaxy, I know to go to this booth next or whatever. So that's super handy too. And that's on the site as well.
Awesome. I will make sure especially that link is available. So anyone listening can go and check that out. But cool. AJ, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for being on the show.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Welcome back to Imagination Central. As you disembark, please remember to remain fully seated until the podcast comes to a complete stop, then gather your belongings and watch your head and step as you exit. Also be sure to check out Disney Food Blog, and I want to once again give a very special thanks to AJ for joining me on today's episode. After you exit the episode, I encourage you to engage with the show by following Imagination Skyway on your favorite social media app. And if you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to share it with anyone who might enjoy our discussion today, and leave us a rating or review in your favorite podcast app. If you're listening on Spotify or already following us on social media, be sure to answer our question associated with this episode, which is for you to tell me which is your favorite EPCOT festival. In addition, be sure to explore Imagination Skyway on the Patreon app or at patreon.com, where you can enjoy bonus podcast episodes, on-demand scenic audio recorded at the parks, and even more content to enjoy, as well as a private community of listeners where we host weekly watch parties, small group video calls, and lots more fun. As always, the terms and conditions and perks and benefits are subject to change, so you can see what is currently available, again, by heading to Imagination Skyway on the Patreon app or at patreon.com. And a reminder that we now have a second podcast for you to enjoy. If you want more Imagination Skyway content, this podcast is still going to be focused on primarily evergreen content. I know today's episode was focused on this year's Flower and Garden Festival, but I'm hoping that the advice and suggestions will help you no matter when you are planning a visit to Walt Disney World for this festival. The second podcast is Imagination Skyway News. You can find it and all your favorite podcast apps, or just head to imaginationskyway.com/news. These are all mini episodes, typically about 5 minutes long, very quick, digestible content for you to get the latest Disney news without any type of speculative information or rumors. We just share the latest Disney news in as succinct a manner as possible and with as minimal bias as possible. I say I am a Disney fan, so it's hard to remove the bias completely, but I do my absolute best to just give you the news and help you to see what is happening at Disney and anything that impacts Disney. Last but certainly not least, remember that achieving your dreams all begins with some self-belief, a plan of action, and perhaps a bit of inspiration. It's all possible if you're willing to put in the time, the energy, and as always, the work to make your dreams come to life. Thank you so much for riding aboard Imagination Skyway, and remember, if we can dream it, we can do it.